This week, Intuit signed a $100 million deal with OpenAI. TurboTax, QuickBooks, Credit Karma plugs straight into one of the most powerful AI engines on earth. To most people, it's a headline. To our profession, it's a line in the sand. It means the bottom of the market, the simple work, is about to get automated faster than anyone expected. It means clients are going to ask financial questions to AI before they ever ask a human. And it means firms who rely on only compliance are going to be compared directly to a machine. But here's the upside. It also means that more demand than ever for advisors, for humans who understand the nuance and context and the whole financial picture. This is the biggest shift of our careers, and today we're going to break down exactly how you can thrive in it.
Welcome to the Growth Minded Accountant podcast, where our experts will share best practices on running your firm in the digital age. This podcast is brought to you by CountingWorks Pro. Let's get started.
Hey everyone, and welcome back to another episode of the Growth Minded Accountant. I'm your host, Lee Reams II, and today is one of the most important episodes we've ever done. And I know Rebekah says that every single time, but this one we may actually be moving the needle a little bit. And I'll give you a little timely news if you have not heard. Something massive just happened in the industry. Intuit signed a $100 million partnership with OpenAI. And this isn't a feature update. This isn't a marketing gimmick. I know the media is running crazy, how there's an AI bubble. I'm not really buying that. I think this is a shift in the foundation of how clients will make financial decisions. It confirms what we've been talking about for months. Trust has moved officially to AI. Just 2 weeks ago, we covered this topic on our Growth Minded Accountant. That title was The AI Squeeze, How Automation is Compressing the Bottom and Expanding the Top of the Profession. No, we had no inside information that Intuit was going to sign that deal. We're just very on this. And I think the information we're sharing weekly on this podcast is really valuable for a tax and accounting firm. So this is not meant to be a moment of fear or a moment of we're not trying to disrupt you in a bad way. I think this is a moment of extraordinary opportunity. And today we're going to talk about a bunch of different items, how this affects you, and the path, I guess, towards thriving in this market. So as usual, I am joined by our Chief Visibility Officer, the one and only Rebekah Barton. Rebekah, if you can say hello.
Hey guys, yeah, Lee's right. This is a big one. This is going to be interesting because it's very timely. So I'm excited to kind of dive into this and how it could change things for you.
Yeah, I mean, basically what we're talking about today is the way clients decide who to trust has quietly been shifting for a few years. It has accelerated, obviously, in the last year, really accelerated in the last 3 to 6 months. But this news about Intuit deal is undeniable. People aren't starting with Google. They're not starting with referrals. They're not spending hours researching firms. They're starting with AI, okay? And whether you trust and use ChatGPT, Gemini launched, I think yesterday or today, 3.0, which is getting the new benchmarks. You're always chasing the latest model, right? But it is off the charts good. It's getting better and better. Perplexity. These AI assistants are now built into your phones, your browsers. They're basically everywhere. And there's a crucial part, the trust they answer. So we've talked about this in a previous podcast. That's the new referral pipeline. And explain that real quick. I know we've talked about it, Rebekah, but just kind of explain what do you mean a referral is in AI? And explain how people are using it.
Right. So like Lee said, we've done a whole podcast on this. If you want to dive in more, you can go find it a few weeks back. But basically what we're saying is that people are no longer just turning to other people to find out who they should use for their tax and accounting needs. They're going to AI, they're developing relationships with their AI assistants. They're saying things like, hey, I live in X city and I specialize in working with real estate investors. Which local tax and accounting advisors can help me? And then the AI system is sending back recommendations. We want that recommendation to be you, but this is how people are now getting referrals. They're not necessarily going to local networking meetings and talking to other business owners. They're talking to their AI assistant and getting its recommendations based on your online footprint and online profiles.
Yeah, I mean, the takeaway here is they are not asking a human first, who understands my type of business? How do I reduce my taxes next year? What should I be doing financially right now? They're asking AI, and the AI doesn't just guess. It pulls from your website, your narrative, your niche, your reviews, your articles, your visibility, your clarity of positioning, your advisory language, and it synthesizes all this into a recommendation. And what's beautiful about AI is that it knows its user. It creates memories and a profile about that particular user, and it kind of takes all that context in helping it create these recommendations that are highly personalized. So, explain if you can, Rebekah, why is this so important? And if AI can't understand you because of all the things I just listed above, if you are not optimizing those or engineering that trust, it can't recommend you. So, kind of explain our belief on this.
Yeah, this is critical. This is critical now. It's going to be critical next year. It's going to be critical, I believe, in 5 years. And it's just going to get more and more important to appeal to those AI engines. So if you've talked to me recently, you've probably heard me say that at work, my focus is now about 80-85% on AI systems and about 15-20% on traditional SEO. It's still there, but it's changed so much. Geo, generative engine optimization, that's what our focus is on here. And what geo systems care about is your cohesiveness. They care about your story, they care about your local content, and they care about you setting yourself apart. This is why niching is so important. It's so important to have a cohesive narrative that spans not only your website, but into your social profiles and into, any blog articles you're posting on other websites. And so just letting people know who your firm is and what sets you apart from all of the generic copy that's out there is the best thing you can do for yourself right now if you want to get recommended by AI systems.
Yeah, I mean, we've been saying I have a whole campaign, cookie cutter is dead, and not because we used to use templates here at CountingWorks because we didn't have technology to do what we can do today. But generic equals unrecognizable, and AI reads vague websites like static, right? It's just a bunch of noise. And if you're, do an experiment, you Google, tax pro near me, and you look at the old blue links, you're going to see generic site after generic site after generic site, meaning not one of those sites will stand out. In the old days, the top three basically were the winners because for whatever reason, they tricked Google to say, we are the market leaders. We're ranked higher than you. Ha 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 ha. Ha. And you were losing out. But the reality here is today is AI has leveled the playing field. So it now can determine, a generalist no longer is a neutral message. It's a disappearing message. Okay. So being findable doesn't really matter anymore unless you're also understandable. So we're going to talk a little bit about, what are the changes that you need to take place inside your practice? Since we talked about compressing the bottom, and I think that's what Intuit will do and AI will continue to do, there's a big push here. Compliance versus advisory, right? So advisory has been the thing for 2 to 3 years, but the reality is AI can make your advisory business much easier to run and much easier to implement and get new clients from your existing client base. So we talked about the bottom of the market collapsing, but this is the moment. So simple returns, basic filing, the bread and butter work that used to be safe is moving to an automated ecosystem. Not slowly, not eventually. It's happening now. I think you're going to start seeing some of that movement here in the next tax season. But this doesn't mean this is a doom. This is just a kind of an evolution of the technology stack. So the mind shift that we want everyone to do is this is not a threat to the profession. I read an article. Who was it? It just said it was one of maybe CPA Trendlines or another big trade, maybe CPA Practice Advisor. But basically, there was a quote that we're living in the golden age of accounting tax, if you want to throw that in there. I believe that is actually true. And for a few reasons, because now with this technology, small firms, boutique firms, you can compete with the big fish. More importantly, you can get so much more done and get such better financial outcomes for your clients than you could ever do before. So what I consider AI, I think this is a threat to the old version of the profession. So the firms who struggle are the ones who double down on compliance alone. And we've mentioned before, we're not saying, oh, you get rid of all your compliance and just go advisory. Just protect your moats, right? Upsell to the clients that are ready for advisory. And you'll also find that advisory is not just for the high net worth individuals or your business owners. There's a lot of little specialty areas for your middle of the road clients, for your lower end clients. There's a lot of ways that you can assist him. So the firms who will thrive are those that step into advisory, into guidance, into planning. And, let's go into a little bit more about this. One of the biggest misconceptions in the profession is, and I just said it, advisory is not a luxury service. It's not reserved for your founders, your executives, or wealthy families. Everyday clients, middle class families have enormous planning opportunities still sitting untouched. Rebekah, why don't you give some examples of what I am talking about here?
Why don't we do that? No, there is a lot here. 529 college savings plans. That's huge for anybody with kids, especially young kids who are looking at what they can do for future educational needs. HSAs. That's a great way for people to kind of, take advantage of some tax stuff. Roth conversions. Next year's tax liability. That's something lots of middle class families care about, especially those who have multiple jobs. If you have gig work outside of your normal job, you have 1099s on top of a W-2. That's something that lots of middle class to upper middle class people have right now. And it's something a lot of them do not know how to handle. Cash flow planning, charitable giving, especially this time of year with Giving Tuesday coming up and the holidays. So there are different timely things you can hit all year long with people of really all income levels, no matter who your large client base is. If you're not working with people who are making over $1 million a year, there's still a lot you can do here with people who are just your normal, average, everyday families.
Yeah, and I'll give another example. We created a playbook. So when we could say playbooks, our platform, we have kind of marketing on autopilot where we're able to use Max, our AI tool, to create a campaign or a funnel about a specific topic. And what we just broke down and launched in the last few weeks is one all about the elder care challenges that affect people. And that's people of all income. Very few people actually make so little money that the government's paying for, dementia care, memory loss, whatever you want to call it. And this is a huge expense for families. And planning around this, understanding, when a family member could be paid and actually be paid by the government. There's a lot of different things that you could do here if you just kind of sit down and kind of brainstorm this. I almost suggest going to ChatGPT and say, hey, this is my client base. This is the income levels. These are the age groups. What are all the different ways you think I can add advisory to my practice? Now, can I package these? It might be not the lucrative $2,000 a month type packages, but there's ways that you can definitely expand and add value to your clients. So your clients are begging for this type of value. This is life-changing value. If you could even help them set up fiduciary accounts for their kids, and when they're born and let that grow, the time value of money, and have millions of dollars set up for their, when they're adults, that is game changing stuff. That's the type of clarity people are looking for. They just don't know what to ask. So when a client says, hey, can you help me understand what I should do? That's advisory, right? When a client feels overwhelmed by decisions, that's advisory. When they don't know which lever to pull, that's advisory, not just historical number crunching, okay? And here's the big point. This is the biggest takeaway here is AI cannot replace that. And no matter what the $100 million Intuit has, and they have this data, there's certain things that human expertise, proactive thoughts, questions, knowing your client relationships, those are the moats that you've created. So I want to get into this moat. And Rebekah, let's talk about it. What are some of the thoughts of, hey, AI can't answer questions, but it cannot be, it can answer questions. It can answer questions about all kinds of things, but it can't build trust. And kind of run with that if you could.
Right. So I think one of the interesting things here is that we say a lot that AI does build a relationship with its user. And while that is true to an extent, it learns your preferences, it learns how you like things written, it learns the types of recommendations you might want. It cannot develop trust in the way that a human advisor can. It's not going to understand the nuances and the details of a family's life. It's not going to understand, hey, they just had a new baby. Maybe I should send them a care package. It's not going to understand, hey, they're empty nesters for the first time. That changes everything. It's not going to understand that someone just sold a business and what are they going to do next? It's not going to understand the goals and the dreams that they have. So that is somewhere where you as a human tax advisor can step in and develop these lasting, authentic relationships with your clients that will not only take them through whatever decision comes next, but really the rest of their lives in a way that no AI can, because it just doesn't have the emotional capacity to understand the nuances of people's daily lives and financial needs.
Elon Musk said you'll just be able to download your consciousness into his Oculus, well, whatever his new bot that's coming,
Yeah.
and they're going to sit there and be able to do all these things for you. But I'm still betting on the human population, so I feel AI still can't understand emotion. It's probably can it do write a comedic joke? Yes, it can, but does it see that full picture of someone's life? I don't think. It cannot connect decisions to goals, fears, or family dynamics. I mean, oh my God, I can't wait to explain to a robot family dynamics when Aunt Melody or whatever her name is out, going crazy about anything. So this is my bet, and it's on the professional. The future isn't bots doing compliance. The future is humans doing advisory. The accountant becomes the family CFO for everyday Americans. So not a commodity, not a historian, not a form filler, a guide, a strategist, a decision partner. I think that's really important. So we're going to now pivot into why this whole podcast, the whole thing is where trust lives now. And I'm going to say that I think trust is the real currency of advisory. So trust now lives in a couple areas. Clarity. So clarity, who you serve. And we're going to now talk about how this all works, how to develop trust, even the type of questions to ask, and even how to deliver and communicate, not just to new clients, but also existing clients, and then during the engagement. So clarity, who do you serve? Narrative, what outcome do you deliver? Specificity, what makes you distinct? Okay, visibility, showing up across multiple surfaces. So meaning, um, if I Google you or if I go to an AI chatbot, am I seeing your firm? Are you showing up? Are you part of that conversation? And then advisory language. And I think this is one of the most important parts. So everywhere the client interacts with you, you need to make sure you're utilizing this language to get your narrative out there. So explain real quick, Rebekah, before I move on, kind of, what clarity, narrative, what makes you distinct, visibility, advisory language, how this all works together in all these ecosystems to communicate, because ChatGPT is actually having conversations about your brand today. And if you don't control it, and we say engineering trust by communicating what you do, what makes you different, then the AI chatbot doesn't really know what to say about you. So kind of explain how this works.
Basically, in short, we've all become PR representatives for our own brands. You want to think about, what do you want these systems to say about you? And it really does require you to sit down and think long and hard about the type of brand you want to build, the type of firm you want to be. I talk to a lot of clients every week. I talk to them about their narratives. I write their narratives. So I get a lot of people who are like, well, we serve everyone. But then once you get them talking, they don't actually serve everyone. They mostly serve older people who have been coming to them for 40 years and live in X city. So there is a niche for everyone. Even if you think you're a generalist, even if you think you serve everyone, the more you think about it, your firm is distinct and you do have a unique voice. It's up to you to figure out what that voice is. And then once you do that, all of these things, the clarity of who you serve, the narrative, what sets you apart, because there is something that sets you apart. Then posting that on multiple platforms, your social media profiles, your website, different visibility engines in your town, your chamber of commerce, perhaps, local business groups, anywhere you show up, you're going to have this thread that kind of explains to the AI systems that this is who you are. Because this terminology that you're using, the different points you're hammering home, they're going to carry through the entire internet and give AI a picture of who you are as a brand. You don't want to be the brand that serves everyone. That is not going to get you clients. It may seem like casting a wide net is what's going to help you grow or get you new clients, but in reality, the more you can narrow it down, the better off you're going to be. I was just working this morning on a website for a client who only provides virtual CFO services for entrepreneurs in Fairfax, Virginia. That is a great, narrow niche, and the copy hits it really well. It tells exactly what they do for these people. They offer monthly check-ins. They offer, once a month tax planning sessions. Like, they get a certain series of services as part of these subscriptions. That's an advisory package that people will actually want and go after. You don't have to have that exact model, but the point here is you need to have a narrow group of people that you're serving. And that group could be everyday Americans in X small town that you're based in, your average people. You can communicate with those people, but you need to have some kind of a niche. Just saying I serve everyone does not cut it anymore. You're going to get completely ignored by AI systems.
Yeah, and it's kind of simple. And then what we're talking about is you almost can engineer your talking points. And I
Yep.
want you to start thinking about AI as a sales force. And if you are creating that every touch point you have with your audience, so you think your website, your emails, your proposals, your onboarding, your reviews are so important. ChatGPT, Gemini, they're always referencing review sites, okay? Your expert really written content, if you're in that niche, if you're in that Fairfax or whatever that was, entrepreneurs, I'm writing articles about that. And guess what? If I am now a chat GPT tool and I'm looking to say which CPA or enrolled agent is most likely to know or be an expert in this area, I'm probably going to talk about you because you've been talking about this subject, right? And that is what we're talking about. That is your narrative. So everything communicates one or two things. I help you understand the past, or I help you shape the future. And only one of those builds trust in this new world. And I help you shape the future is what we're talking about. So we're going to go into, we actually have some takeaways. So if you want to take some notes, we call it the 4 pillars of AI era trust. We're going to give you a little bit of a blueprint. So there are 4 pillars of engineered trust in the AI era, and Rebekah's been talking about right now. But I'm going to let you riff for a while here.
Okay.
So we have the pillar 1, lead with narrative. Pillar 2, position yourself around outcomes. Why don't you start rolling through the narrative one? I'll do the position yourself around outcomes, but go ahead and take off on the narrative.
Perfect. So the narrative, as we just kind of said, tells not only the AI, but your prospective clients exactly who you are. So this is critical. This kind of sets the stage, serves as the cornerstone of everything else about your brand online. So some examples of this could be something like, we help high earning dual income households lower their tax liability annually. That's a really good statement that tells exactly who you serve, and it's going to immediately exclude people you don't want to work with, which is another great thing about narrative that I don't think we hit on a lot. There are always going to be people you don't want to work with. And this kind of allows them to self-exclude. So it saves you time from doing discovery calls and things like that with people who aren't necessarily a good fit for you. If you're clearly stating who you serve, people who don't fit in that demographic are unlikely to even reach out. So it makes it easier for you to only get leads that are actually qualified for your services. Another good example would be something like, we turn marketing consultants into business owners with proactive tax strategy, that they can help take someone who's doing a side gig perhaps in consulting and turn it into a true business by implementing tax strategies that are going to help them over the years. So your narrative basically is your sorting mechanism. It's not only how you can divide clients into I want to work with you and I don't want to work with you, but it's also how you become recognizable online, not only within the systems, but to people who find you. So if someone starts seeing your name pop up every time they're doing tax research, when they're actually ready to call someone, you're likely to be top of mind. So the more cohesive and clear your narrative is, the more likely you are to get the clients that you actually want to serve. So this is huge, no matter who your target audience is, because as they're talking to their AI systems, your name is almost inevitably going to pop up if you're doing this right.
And that's how you can engineer trust.
It is.
So this is one a technique. In the old days, there were only so many positions, blue links in Google. In the new days, it is infinite, and it is so hyper personalized that if you're doing this correctly, you could be recommended daily 10, 20, 30 times. And it's just a matter of numbers. And if you're going for advisory services and you pick up 5 advisory clients a month at $24,000 each, it gets pretty lucrative pretty fast, right? Now, AI is starting to automate a lot of different things. So a lot of accountants still talk about tasks. Clients don't want tasks. They want transformation. And if AI is starting to do a lot of this, then wait a second, what is the role of my human in the loop, right? I want you to transform me. So I not just bookkeeping, I want clarity, right? I just don't want tax prep. I want tax reduction, advisory, okay? I don't want just payroll. I want peace of mind. not reports, but decisions. Okay. So when your messaging reflects outcomes, trust becomes effortless. And this is what the biggest mistake I see is that pros do not use this language in their marketing copy. And I'm going to go back to cookie cutter is dead. Unfortunately for us, the profession now has a couple of vendors that have the exact same website 5,000 times. It is awful for the new world. I mean, you might as well just, put them all down the toilet and they all disappear. The reality is you need to start standing out and you need to start using advisory language. And this is pillar number 3 everywhere. And this is probably one of the most powerful. And what I mean by advisory language, and we've been kind of going about this, is, here's a couple examples. Here's what this decision means for you in the next 12 months. If you make this change now, you can save around $25,000 next year. You're heading for a cash crunch. Let's fix it before it hits, right? These two choices lead to different tax outcomes. Here's the better path. AI probably could present the two tax outcomes, but doesn't necessarily have the advice or the nuance. And that is the whole thing. I said it in a podcast recently. 90%, 95% accurate in tax and accounting is 100% wrong. Okay. You humans are here to do this advisory level work. So start using this language in your proposals, in your marketing copy. When you're talking to clients, don't do all this historical stuff anymore. I mean, that's the old way. This is the new way. Start this and you'll start seeing immediate results and you'll start seeing clients jump on board for advisory, right? So when clients hear this tone consistently, they stop seeing you as a commodity and, oh my God, that's the evil word in our business, right? And they start seeing you as a guide. So I think this is really important. Pillar number 4 is show up in trusted services. So I'm going to let you go with this, Rebekah. What are the types of ways? And again, we're talking about engineering trust. So these are the ways, these are the things you can do to get that amplification of this messaging out there.
Yeah, so there are a lot of trusted surfaces. I know that sounds like kind of a jargony term, but this is going to be things like joining niche communities, whether it's a forum that targets your target audience, real estate forums, things like that. If you work with real estate investors, that can be a good way to get your name out there. Facebook groups where you're posting, talking to people who are in your target audience, appearing on podcasts. That's a great way to establish expertise. Associations that you join. I was recently working with one of our clients who specializes in construction, and he has joined numerous construction associations nationwide because that helps him get in touch with people who he wants to be his clients. Reviews, as we've said a million times, are so important. Now, one thing I do want to note is that this is not just Google reviews anymore. AI pulls from multiple sources. So if you have a Better Business Bureau profile, Yelp, Trustpilot, all of these different places. It's not just about Google anymore. Google obviously.
It's not just about TaxBuzz anymore. Is that what you're saying, Rebekah?
It's not just about TaxBuzz anymore.
Okay, I just wanted to make sure you kind of lost me there for a second, but go ahead.
The most important of all. But Google is still important, but really across the board, your reviews are going to matter now. Because AI isn't just looking to Google. So I have people ask a lot, like, does it matter where I get reviews? The old answer used to be, well, Google is king. The new answer is Google is important, but so is everywhere else. So wherever you can get reviews, take them. And then another great thing to do is to post industry content on your own, whether it's on your website, on your LinkedIn page, whether it's on other social profiles, whether you join a website like Newsbreak or you're posting on TaxBuzz. These are all places where you can start to gain authority within your niche. These are all high authority websites that can really move the needle for you in terms of how often you're getting recommended and what types of queries you're getting recommended for. The more content you have out there, the more likely I can't speak, AI is to find you because they're going to see you on these various touch points. So if someone says, hey, can you help me find an article about tax deductions for construction company owners, and all you have is a website, you're not going to be as likely to be recommended. However, if you've recently posted a TaxBuzz article about the top 10 tax deductions that construction company owners need to know, that's a really good way to get pulled. So I hope that's kind of a concrete example of why it matters so much to not just have a website in this day and age. That's not enough anymore. Everyone has a website. You need to be building a cohesive brand across the internet in order to gain authority.
Rebekah, not all tax and accounting firms have websites. I know this is hard to believe. Every other profession, everyone has a website. Unfortunately, in our profession, not necessarily true.
That is true.
But AI notices this. Everything that Rebecca was mentioning, humans notice this. It forms, there's a knowledge graphs, there's things that algorithms and things that happen, but it's basically a trust graph. So the more you feed this, that is what AI uses now to recommend you over the automated platforms. It's going to recommend you over these tools, and you're already seeing ChatGPT already started mentioning in things like tax. Talk to a professional. AI can make a mistake, okay? And that is your opening here. So the new reality, you become the obvious choice. So let's bring this all together. The Intuit OpenAI partnership isn't the end of the profession. It's the end of the old version of the profession. It's not the same way as I did it last year, okay? Compliance is becoming automated. That is a trend that will continue. Maybe it's 2 to 3 years away where it's really, kind of fully automated up to a point. Humans will review it, but it's becoming automated. But trust is becoming more valuable. That is your moat. Your client relationship is the most valuable asset you have, okay? Guidance is becoming more valuable. Planning is becoming more valuable. Advisory is becoming essential. And more importantly, clients are starting to realize this, right? They're actually looking for it. So the firms who step into this role, who communicate this clearly, position themselves around outcomes, use advisory language everywhere, and build visibility across trusted surfaces, those firms will own the next decade. So this is not something to fear. This is something to embrace because the need for human, thoughtful financial guidance has never been stronger. Okay, so the professionals willing to evolve into advisors will thrive. So, Rebecca, we've kind of built how you can engineer trust, how visibility, your custom narrative is so important. I think the biggest takeaway we're going through today is using this advisory language within all your marketing and communications. And if you start just even changing your processes, training your partners, your staff to be asking these questions, even creating playbooks in tools like Max or ChatGPT, say, hey, give me a bunch of advisory language like questions I should use when interviewing this client. If you have their data, have their background, if they have their tax return, AI is smart enough to create that narrative and even a script for you. Okay. So you basically can thrive in this new environment. You can do more with less. We talked about last week having, or 2 weeks ago, a 5-person firm doing as much as 20. We interviewed the CEO of CFO Project and talked about advisory service, how their average client is almost $2,000 a month in CFO advisory services. Think about that. It's 10 clients is $240,000. You get 40 of $1 million practice. You could be a small firm generating $1 million. How long does it take to pick up 40 clients? Not that long. Okay. So you can build trust with humans and the machines if you're using this narrative, if you're following what we're doing, but you cannot sit still. Okay. You have to become that advisory partner your clients actually want to work with. So we'll continue to cover this. We're trying to pound through a lot of these concepts. It may feel a little bit repetitive, but what we've noticed is specifically in this advisory language is real lift in our clients. So, and it's not just feeding the machines, it's how your clients react, how easily they will decide to use you for advisory services if you stop using historical language and start using forward-thinking language. So again, thank you so much for being a listener to the Growth Minded Accountant podcast. I hope you found this material helpful. Share it with colleagues and make sure you're subscribed. We're looking for that modern tax and accounting, those people looking for that growth. And that's what we're here to deliver for our clients through what we do here at CountingWorks Pro. If you have any questions or interested in our services, feel free to visit us at countingworkspro.com. You can ping me on LinkedIn or Rebecca as well. But again, thank you for listening, and hopefully you have if we don't hear from you through the holidays, Thanksgiving, hopefully you'll have a safe and healthy, as much as you can, healthy Thanksgiving. So enjoy, and we'll talk to you guys soon.